Hey, greetings from Texas. Happy Cast Iron Wednesday. This month's theme is pasta, and we're going to make American goulash. So we're going to use, this is normally a 2-pound recipe, so I cut it in half. So if you're going to cook for 4 or more, you can double this. So this is enough for 2 people plus leftovers. So we got a pound of ground beef. We got some Worcestershire. We're going to use about a teaspoon of that. We're going to use a cup of elbow macaroni. I normally put green pepper, but we don't have that, so I'm going to use diced celery. We got 1 onion, which will be diced. We got a small can, 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes. We're going to use some beef broth as our liquid. And we have a little leftover jalapeno. Normally I would use a whole diced jalapeno, just remove the seeds and the ribs, and it won't be hot. We're going to do 3 cloves of chopped garlic. We got a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You can omit that. We're going to start off with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We have 3/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You can adjust for salt later. We got a whole tablespoon of paprika. We got 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. We got a heaping teaspoon of dark brown sugar, and that'll take the bite out of the acid in the tomatoes. All right, we have our Dutch oven on smoking high heat with 2 tablespoons of oil. You can either use olive oil. In this case, I'm using grapeseed oil, neutral flavored oil, which also can take a lot of heat. Unlike a lot of ground beef recipes, a lot of people will cook their ground beef all the way through before they add everything. I like to get mine halfway cooked and then add my aromatics to get those oils and flavors into that meat. On the high heat, you're going to want to stand by, kind of like wok cooking. Use very high heat, and you're just constantly moving everything in your pan. And this gets me really good caramelization. So we'll come back when this is halfway cooked through. Okay, we're halfway through the cooking process in the ground beef. I'm not going to drain the fat. A lot of people will cook their ground beef, drain the fat, add more oil to cook add the vegetables. We're going to add those right in and cook them in that beef fat. So we got our carrots, we got our onions and jalapenos, and the juices from that are going to help deglaze the pan. But I could smell that caramelization, that browning on that ground beef using that high heat. Now we're going to add our jalapeno and garlic. We're going to cook this down for a couple minutes. Get that water out of those onions so they can sweeten up. So we'll come back in about 2 minutes. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. The onions are about halfway done, so now we're going to add our tomatoes. And we're going to cook those for about another 2 minutes. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. With that high heat, you just keep moving it around, and the juice from the tomatoes has leached out and help us deglaze the pan. So now we're going to add our dry ingredients. And we're going to cook those in for about another minute or so. Okay, it's been just a little over a minute. We're going to go ahead and add our liquid. On high heat, it's going to take less time to bring it back up to boil before you put the noodles back in. Let's get that fond off the bottom of the pan. Okay, let's add our tomato sauce. Add our Worcestershire. Okay, now we're going to add 1 cup of water. And it'll thin this out, but that's going to give the noodles something to absorb. Okay, we're going to add our 1 cup of noodles. Okay, we're all the way up to a simmer already. We're going to go ahead and back the heat down now to number 4 or medium low. And we're going to cover this for 12 minutes. And at that time, we can check to see if the noodles are done and add any final seasoning. Okay, we're about 2 minutes into the cooking. I'm just going to stir everything around. Make sure these noodles aren't sticking to the bottom. We'll come back in another few minutes, check it out. Okay, 10 minutes has passed. Let's see where we are. That's looking good. Now, if you find you have too much liquid, you can just add some dry Parmesan or Parmigiano Romano cheese to it, and that'll help thicken it up. Otherwise, we just serve this on top once we plate it. That way everybody can choose if they want it or not, but that'll help thicken it up, and it will also add another level of umami. So we're gonna shut the heat down. We don't have anything sticking on the bottom, and we're gonna let that sit. The pasta is gonna continue to absorb some of that water, and we're gonna let any excess of the water just kind of cook off. Okay, it's rested for 5 minutes. We're gonna check the pasta. We like ours kind of al dente, and taste for salt seasoning. Okay, let's plate it out so you can see what it looks like. There we go. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and try it out. If you want to go Tex-Mex, add chili powder instead of paprika. Mmm.